Okay. What's going on, you guys? This is your boy Bill Mahari here, representing the MehariNation Sports Podcast here. I won't go on for too long, you guys. Also, salute to the entire LDBC. Salute to the greater basketball and boxing community. You know, I'm going to go on for probably about 15 to 30 minutes. And later on tonight, don't miss it. 9 p.m. Central Time, we got Basketball Conversations, my new show. We're going to go on every Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, discussing the world of basketball, history, news, everything. Okay? Now, the title of this video is Why Joining Special Olympics Helps with Mental Issues. Now, I've been kind of intrigued by, what's been going on in the world of sports the last few years. Okay? Now, I'm going to rewind very strategically. Okay. Now, I started playing Special Olympics basketball when I was about 18 years old after my senior year in high school. Okay. Now, originally, I never had any intentions on being serious about the movement at all because I was just only there just to play ball, and just, use it as like another place to relax and clear my mind in it and stuff. Um, the reason why I'm talking about this issue is because what I've been noticing is this. I've been noticing a lot of things around my neighborhood that you know people have all sorts of problems or probably personal problems or maybe mental issues that they're not addressing enough. And to me, I always feel like there's a lot of resources and there's a lot of stuff out there to try to help these people out. Now, there are a lot of certain cases where the resources are not there to help these people out, and people get sent to the wayside, and they forget that they don't exist. And I have a problem with that. Okay, now one of the most intriguing people in all sports that I relate to is Jermaine Taylor. Now, Jermaine Taylor, as most of you guys know, was the undisputed middleweight champion when he finally ended the long reign of Bernard Hopkins back in 2005, 2006. Then, he won the titles, and then ultimately he was on top of the world. But then when he started getting, hurt a lot, he was getting knocked out by Kevin Pavlik, and then that brutal knockout against Arthur Abraham. You could tell that his reflexes, his speech, everything about him just wasn't the same. And just look at his criminal record right now. It speaks for itself. Threatening family members, with dangerous weapons, disorderly conduct, threatening police. Those kind of things to me are kind of the symbols of a person that really needs a lot of help. Okay. Now, I'm representing by saying this. Okay. I think that a lot of times, mental health doesn't get addressed enough as much as it should. Okay. And, there's so many resources out there for people to use, but either we're too prideful as black men to go for finding those issues, or it's just something that we just are too ashamed to talk about. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself since we're going to be on this topic here. When I was a little boy, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. Now, let me explain what that is in a broader sense. You can Google this yourself. But Asperger's essentially is you basically are limited in terms of some social cues, behavioral cues, and sometimes communicational cues. Now, when I was growing up, I had issues with behavior, controlling my emotions, and always getting into fights with people at school, and always getting picked on all the time. People using the all word, all sorts of horrible names that I will not say here. And through grades, kindergarten through sixth grade was just pure hell for me because kids were just brutal. They would just say all sorts of horrible stuff and some racial stuff in between that too. And, it really shook my confidence as a man. And at home, it didn't help as much. I had an abusive father who never treated me as a man, who never gave me the respect that he never gave me any respect at all. He never really wanted to get to know me well as a man. And so because of that, I always felt like I always had to live up to his standards of what he wants. And he never really got the chance to understand how I thought, understand how I move, and understand how I progress. And he thought that he was going to see me nothing more than a failure, and harbored a lot of resent to that, and plus the abusive stuff to go with that too. I harbor a lot of resentment towards that. What Special Olympics did for me was it essentially allowed me to use the sport to express what I am as a person, and being competitive, finding something to motivate myself every day, really pushes myself to be at my absolute best, and despite all the medals, despite all the accomplishments, I always looked at myself as just a guy who just loves to play. But what I've learned in the past few years, and the picture that you guys saw on the screen there was my USA basketball team there in 2015. We were warming up, we were basically in training camp in Indianapolis. But when I realized that, you know, that people were looking up to me as the role model to what they could be, it kind of drew me. It kind of drew me back. Like, hmm, I'm much more of a role model than I tend to give myself for. Because I've always just looked at. I just wanted to be just nothing more than a normal guy, but with very hidden talents in between that. But essentially to me is, you know, I felt like you know, that I just wanted to just be, a normal person, just living a normal life. But now that I have all this sophistication around me, it's like I'm now more of a role model for people who have different types of disabilities or mental issues, anything like that, and they look at that as like we could be that person if we keep our minds straight and just go out and do the things that we love to do. That's how I kind of took it. So when you go in there and play Special Olympics, go out and volunteer. Try to see what you can do to help out. If you want to be a coach, go do that. Share your knowledge on the sport when everything you can, because there's always going to be a person that is gonna ingest that knowledge and is gonna try to pass it on and try to get better off of that. So, you know, I know a lot about basketball during my time in high school, but when I left high school, it allowed me to use the stuff that I learned in the high school teams to try to apply it to my teams. And what I've learned along the line is that I learned active leadership on and off the court. Being the leader on the team there on the floor, telling the guys what to do and keeping a calm, cool, collective voice, but also being that role model for them, because you know a lot of people don't have a lot of role models in their life, and sometimes they would look up to superstars, big high profile athletes, which is fine. I'm not dismissing that at all. But most times the big time athletes, make their own mistakes though too. So I think that people need to understand that there are a lot of resources out there, and also Special Olympics it's a driving force to try to promote equality, fairness, and also a sense of community. And that's what I gravitated to the LDBC too. I started listening to the LDBC about 4 years ago. Um, and I was gravitated by how many people, you know, came around together, and, shared their videos, sharing their knowledge together. And even though there's disagreements, that they would talk it out, in between the scene, behind the scenes, and be like, hey, we brothers, let's try to be above this and let's keep on moving, you know? So I tend to believe I certainly believe that's why been doing my own channel too. And sometimes I may not have people in my chat, but I always wanted to be my true self. I don't try to be, no, that somebody that I'm not, because I don't want to gain any subscribers and have like a fake base. I want what I like in my channel is that I have 277 subscribers who understand the battle and who understand the fight that I go through every day, and I still got my issues that I still deal with to this day. Um, my issues going back to when I was a kid up until now. Even with all the success I attained in my life, I still have more goals and more challenges that I want to succeed at. And Special Olympics to me is the building block to help me refocus and retool what I want to do with my life. And you know, going being in Los Angeles for that 2015 World Games was a very rewarding experience to me. Not just that I was playing at the highest of my, basketball athletic ability, but seeing people from around the globe who go through the same problems and the same barriers and have all the success similar to mine was a much more of a rewarding thing for me. And to me, it's the most enjoyable thing that I will always treasure for throughout the rest of my basketball life. You know, beyond the knowledge I have for basketball, beyond all the stats and all the historical things that I will talk about regularly, the one thing that is for certain, without Special Olympics, I don't think I would be the person that I am now. And I think that using SO and using other, recreational activities, not just brings people together, but also it allows people to get to know each other, build relationships, help each other in the community too, you know. And these brothers that I played with, on the picture screen there on the background shot, of this video, the people that I played with all these years, I grew up with them. You know, they grew up with me and learned about my personality, how I move, and how I conduct myself. You know, and that's important to me. You know, a college degree. I had my own college degree, my silver medal. I got my ESPY award, but all these things are materials to me. What I treasure more than anything is seeing the next generation of people, particularly for my Eritrean people too, you know, not, develop themselves, advance themselves, be their own people, be independent, not just relying on somebody to help them out. And that's what I value more than anything. And, SO has made me much more of an independent person. And now I feel in my heart that I'm going to go out and try to pursue, other things in my life and be my own man, because I want to build a legacy where I gave everything I had in my life and I never looked back and I never regret on any decision I made. Okay. And the one thing that I've learned is that I don't allow life to rush. I just allow life, to play its course, and I don't try to rush myself, because in doing that, you make irrational decisions. You don't make the wisest choices, and you might be stuck in a situation where you may not get out of. You know, and the other thing that I always talk about with SO is this. You know, no matter where you came from, no matter what your background is, everybody plays together for one single purpose, and that is to play together, win together, and lose together. Okay? I've had my share of highs, my share of lows, and my moments of growth and my growing pains. But the one thing that has been consistent about me is you never ever settle on anything. And I will admit that I've been settling a bit too much lately. But the time is going to, it's the time is now for people to stop settling on mediocrity. That we need to grow ourselves, as people, to try to better ourselves in our future. Because it's during the society times where everything is, so scrutinized and under a deep microscope, you need the people around you to give you that initial support and initial guidance in your life to make the not just the best decisions for you in the long run, but to have financial legacy that you can look forward to, so your children can see what they can do as they get into their position where they want to be in their lives. So, that's just how I feel about those things. And being an SO athlete, has had put me in a mind state where, I want to do different things, but I also wanted to keep reminding myself, how did I get there in the first place? Because there were a time in my life where I was too ashamed to talk about it. Now I feel more open to express about it, and I don't really care what people think. Okay, I know there's going to be people out there that's going to say all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, I am who I am, and I am who I am as a person. And there's no one in the world that's going to change that about me. And that's how I feel about it most times. So that's what I just wanted to get this off my chest. I think that using those resources, to help address those same issues, not just will help you in the short term, but also long term, will help repair relationships, but also develops self-confidence in people to try to do bigger things in their lives. And at the time where, mental health is much more scrutinized than ever, you need the people around you to try to push you to get where you want to go. And that's how it means a lot to me, you know. And that's what I just wanted to say about that too. So this is only a brief live stream, but I'll be back later on tonight for episode 2 of Basketball Conversations, and and then we're gonna get another special panel together. We're gonna discuss, basketball history, you know, uh, anything that we want to discuss about in the world of basketball. So tune in 9 p.m. Central Time tonight on this podcast here. Okay, so this is Abir Mahari representing the podcast. Salute to the entire LDBC, and I'll see you later on tonight.